Hey guys, welcome back to the Deep Well podcast. Today I'm super excited sitting down with Coach Kate. She has a very powerful story of her growing up in track and going through some eating disorders and things that led to an ending to her track career. And ultimately, she's made a 180, and we've got a great story to tell. So she heard the podcast the other week about reverse dieting and was inspired to share her story in hopes of supporting and encouraging somebody else that might be going through a similar journey. So, Kate, thank you so much for being here. Super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited too.
Awesome. Cool. Well, so coach now, but little background for everybody. You were a runner leading up to college, in college. What got you into running and kind of made you fall in love with it?
So I started playing soccer when I was like 5 years old, and I was a midfielder. That was in that position, you run a lot. And so that was a majority of what I did in soccer was running. I ended up getting a hip injury. I did PT for it. They told me I couldn't do any kind of lateral movement. So all I could do was run. And I was so mad and I hated it until a few weeks into it. I just realized that one, it felt good to be outside and run and move my body. And I loved it. And I realized I was actually pretty good at it. And so at that point, that was when, I talked to my parents and we made the decision that I was gonna pivot from soccer to cross country. So that was my going into ninth grade year, high
Good.
school.
So all of high school, you were primarily a runner.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So we talked a little bit before this. You told me you kind of got to where you were because, as a runner, there was this theory that the lighter you are, the faster you run, and that proved true to you. So can you speak to a little bit about like how that came to be? Like, was it just running culture? Did somebody of influence kind of speak that to you, and kind of what led you to that point of um, worrying about your weight with your running?
I think it was running culture just in general at the time that was just I don't know if others felt that way, but that's how I kind of viewed the sport. There wasn't a specific instance where someone directly said that to me, but it was kind of just in the culture um, of cross country, and that really began my thoughts and actions and behaviors toward trying to manipulate body weight, body size in order to improve at the sport.
Gotcha. So was it? Did you see a performance increase initially, and then did that hold for a while, or like what does that trajectory look like when you start? It's like, all right, I need to try to lose some weight, restrict some eating to make that happen and continue to be a successful runner. So what did that kind of trajectory look like as far as getting better? Was there a plateau, and when did things kind of drop off, or did they?
Yeah, I think initially I did see my times improve, and I don't know if that was just the restriction and the losing of the weight itself. I was also increasing volume of training. I was up to like 60, 65 miles a week. I was training with the guys team. And so running these faster paces in my training on top of taking in significantly less intake, I think both of those things had something to do with why I saw improvements to begin with. And yeah, it was more long term. Those behaviors started my junior year, and my junior and senior year was when I really started to drop my times and um, was able to improve a good bit.
In your meets, did you have wins and success and things like that that would like even further encourage
Oh yeah.
continuing that process?
Yeah, and so and, at the time I was 16, 17, and in my brain, I thought, "I have done these actions which have led to this outcome." And so, of course, I thought that I should keep continuing doing what I was doing in order to keep getting better and keep pushing harder. So yeah, I think the success that came definitely drove some of those
Yeah,
behaviors.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you had success in high school, which led to college. So tell us a little bit about your college journey, like getting started and running in college.
Right. So I went to Clemson. I was lucky to be able to walk on to the team there. And I actually went the summer before my freshman year. I was in a program through the Honors College for like a research program. And so I was there a little bit early, which was cool because I got to go ahead and meet some of the team some of my other teammates that were also there early. So that's when I really started, living on my own and training sort of on my own. There were a few of us there, but not the entire team. Um, and I was still struggling with these thoughts of I need to eat less, I need to be smaller, I need to fit this mold of what I had pictured a cross country at a collegiate level athlete needed to look and perform like. Um, and so it continued to get worse. I continued to restrict food groups and um, started developing some foot pain. This was the fall of my freshman year after I had done 3 races in cross country season, and that was when I started having foot pain on the right side. Um, at the time, I told my coach, I told the trainer, they said, "All right, let's get you in for an MRI. We'll see what we find." And there were 2 stress fractures, one on 2 different metatarsals of my right foot. So basically just little hairline fractures from overuse. So they put me in the boot and I was told I couldn't run anymore. All I can do is cross train, swim, bike, elliptical, which removed me from practice for one. So I wasn't with my team anymore. It was kind of an alienating experience. And but then also removed the one thing that, I felt therapy from, which was running. And so there was a lot of difficulty coping there, I think, with I've come here to do this thing and now I can't do this thing anymore.
For sure. Yeah. So when you mentioned you were alone, yeah, living on your own. So obviously all of your food choices and decisions, they're on you. You don't have any oversight from family, or anybody kind of checking in to make sure you're doing what you're doing. Did things get worse when you got to college, or did you kind of keep on the same path? What changed in your nutrition once you got to college?
Yeah, I'd say things probably got worse. I also wasn't telling anyone what I was experiencing or going through, and I think if I had done that, someone might have said, "Hey, let's get you some help," or "Talk this through," or "Here's ways that we can help you." So there was a lot of shame in what I was feeling, what I was doing. I was embarrassed about not, you know, about having these body image struggles and struggling with something that a lot of people don't even think twice about. And so yeah, it it got worse when I there was no oversight.
Sure.
Yeah.
So with you mentioned body image, so is it safe to say like you were trying to lose weight to perform better, but that also kind of led into self confidence, self image
Yeah,
issues,
absolutely.
and like where did that take you mentally? Because that's a big piece of this as well. You've got the
Yeah.
physical of the foot fracture, but mentally, where did that take you?
I think that I always felt really self-conscious about my body stepping up to the line on the track or on the cross country course because I felt that I was shorter, stockier, not as tall and lanky as some of the other runners, and again, no one was telling me these things. I just put that kind of pressure on myself. I think I put a lot of worth and value into I need to look a certain way, and looking back, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that to myself. But again, at that age, it's comparison is a big part of the sport where you've got a very objective number. This is my time that you're.
So the body image wasn't so much like I need to be a certain size just for society. It was comparison against the athletes that you were competing against.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, so once you had the fracture in the right foot, we did some rehab. Obviously, there's challenges there, not being able to do the things you love. What did you do in that downtime to try to keep yourself going? Because as an athlete, you can't just not do anything. So,
Yeah.
like, how did you try to cope with not being able to run?
I think really digging into the cross training was the only way I really could. This was also right around the time that I met Will. Many of you know my husband Will. He would come to the pool with me and like I'd be swimming. He'd either swim or just hang out with me. So he was a great support during all of that. Um, but on top of that, school, I mean, nursing school is another added stressor on top of all of this. And so being busy there, I think I just tried to use distraction and, you know, through school. And I still, of course, had to like go to practices. I just couldn't participate, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So once you were able and cleared to run, what was next?
So got cleared to run. Um, This was probably early winter of that same year. And then I'd only been running back for a few weeks at regular practice and back to, starting to increase my mileage a little bit more when I started having pain in my left foot. And I went to my coach, told him what was going on, and he was like, "Man, that doesn't make sense. You just started back a few weeks ago. How can we be having pain on the opposite side?" And so once again, they sent me for the MRI, and this one came back a full fracture of metatarsal. Um, and so then they put me back in the boot, onto crutches this time. I couldn't weight bear on the foot. Um, Back to the pool, back to the bike. Except now I wasn't allowed to kick. I had to use my arms only. So it was a lot more there were a lot more restrictions on that left foot just because it was the full break. It was a little bit more, I don't want to say serious, but a little bit more guidelines around what I could and
Yeah,
couldn't do.
restrictions were much greater.
Yeah.
For sure. So how long did that recovery take?
That one took longer. I think I was on crutches for 6 weeks, which if you've never been on crutches before, it's hard.
To work out?
Yeah, it sure is. Clemson, they were great. The athletic team, they drive me around to class on a golf cart because campus is huge. So there was a lot of support from the athletic department in that sense. But yeah, it was a long recovery. I don't think I was fully, but that happened in January, my freshman year, and I really didn't get back to full volume training until the summer.
So that's a even longer time of being down. What were the mental side effects of like the second diagnosis, more aggressive diagnosis, and then the longer setback?
Yeah, it was really hard. And that was kind of the point where I started wondering, am I hurting myself by doing this sport? And it was kind of the point where I started to wonder, okay, something has to change. Something somewhere has to shift. I mean, fracturing a foot one time is one thing, but a repeated pattern kind of shook me up.
At any point through this recovery and like the second diagnosis, was nutrition brought up? Was that, an area of concern by any like medical professional or whatever?
Yeah, it was brought up by the trainers, and they said they did send me for a bone density scan just to see what that baseline was, and it came back as osteopenia, which is the step right before osteoporosis. And again, at that age, it's not normal, not good by any means. And so I think that was kind of the point where I realized something had to change nutritionally. Um, Started to learn more about fueling for sport instead of restricting for sport, if that
Sure.
makes sense. And again, all of this happening alongside of nursing school was very interesting because I'm learning all of these things about the human body at the same time that I'm going through something that was really hard.
For sure.
So yeah.
So that mindset shift of fueling for performance, were there resources given to you, or was that just something that you just kind of came to terms with? Like, how'd that become a thing in your mind?
So I didn't learn as much about that until I had already decided that I didn't think I could continue with cross country in college. So, right beginning of my sophomore year, I made that decision to um, prioritize my health and step away, which that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Sure.
I think it was the bravest thing I've ever done, but it was really hard. But at that time, so after that happened, that was when I started working out at more of a group fitness weight training that was when I really learned about lifting weights. We didn't do that a whole lot in cross country. And along with that, that gym that I worked out at, they had a lot of resources about nutrition and health. And that was when I first started to kind of hear about things that could be done from a nutritional standpoint to improve bone density, muscle build, the body's ability to live and function as a person. So yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. So excuse me. Playing golf growing up in high school, like you didn't lift weights
Yeah.
because it was going to build muscle mass. It was going to restrict your swing. And, nowadays, obviously that is the complete opposite. Those guys are training harder than we do in most cases, and just very intentionally and specifically. But it's awesome how science and evidence has changed over the years to prove that, like, yes, muscle mass is that indicator that's going to determine your longevity. The more you have, the more rigid you are, and the more you can sustain. So it's not necessarily a bad being. Having muscle is awesome. It's
Right.
something we all should prioritize, and I think that's the bulk of what we talk about is get your protein so you can build muscle to enjoy life
Sustain life long term.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so with this group fitness you're doing, getting into moving some weight, what changed? Like, what did you see first change in your body once you started to eat for performance, and that maybe I do need to and want to build some muscle?
Yeah. I did see some changes for sure and just growing and adding on muscle. And that was really scary for me at the time. I was still struggling with the body image side of things. And so there was a lot of fear of, well, what if, my teammates see my body changing? What are they going to think about that? Or my prior teammates, people that I knew back in high school. Like there was a lot of self consciousness and fear about that,
Sure.
which is so ironic now because now I feel like the goal is how can I put up as or put on as much mass and as strength as possible, Um, but it was when I first started seeing those changes, that was very hard.
Sure. I mean, your identity for so long is becoming something else, and that that's the way that your peers recognize you
Yeah.
and knew you as. They're like, who is this new Kate?
Right.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Um, Not to get like too personal, but with restricted eating and being in that deficit, like that's a lot of stress on your body. And for females specifically, that can cause some major hormonal issues, whether it's, missing cycles and different things like that. Did you experience anything like that? And did that improve or go away? If so, when you started to train for performance and making it okay in your mind that, like, let's build some muscle?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely I experienced that. I didn't have a period for about 2.5 years, and again, at that age, it's a very formative time where your body is creating hormones, and um, mine was restricted to the point of shutting off the unnecessary body system. So hormone cycles in women, they're beyond important, but it's not going to be life or death. So when my body didn't have enough nutrition to sustain these functions that are not life or death, it shut down. So yeah, and that's very common in running. There've been a lot of professional runners that have spoken out about their experiences with
Yeah.
amenorrhea. And it was mine. But now I can create a period on my own. I have enough fuel to where I can do that. I no longer I think that the not producing hormones is part of why I had the bone density
Sure.
issues. That's no longer an issue anymore. I'm so thankful that that was able to be reversed and didn't cause any lifelong damage, but it certainly could have.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how resilient our bodies
Yeah.
are, but at the same time, it's also amazing how food, fruits, vegetables, meat that are active on this earth can take care of our bodies in ways that most medicines can't.
Right.
It's just, let's just eat some real food and let our bodies do what they're designed to do, because they're amazing machines. And so it's cool to hear, from a firsthand experience, like, yes, I took these valuable things away. My body punished me for it. I started giving back, and now look at you. You've been heavily rewarded by prioritizing proper nutrition, clean eating, the right amount, all those things. So it's awesome that, it's not an end all be all, but it's a situation that a lot of people see themselves. There are a lot of females more than men. There are certainly men as well.
Yeah.
And it's not the end of the world though. And it's awesome that there is another side to the struggle.
Right. And there's hope,
Yeah,
even if it's a long journey. I mean, this was years of from when that happened then to where we are now.
for sure.
Yeah.
Do you like where you are now compared to where you were then, mind space wise? Like, do you ever have like I don't want to say a relapse, but do you ever have like that like little thought in the back of your mind, or are you like to the point now where you're so proud of what you've been able to do that you're just moving forward?
I think there was a time shortly after where, yes, I would have like relapse moments. Now I am just very proud. I I think again, like you said, the body is amazing and you can kind of train your thoughts, right? And so I worked really, really hard to train my brain to no longer view foods as good or bad. That was a really hard thing for me, when I would say, "Oh, I can't eat carbs because they're bad," you know?
Right.
And so by relearning and retraining my brain in that space, and also in terms of body image, like being kind to myself over years and years and years of consistency doing that, that made a really big difference. So now, um, I don't struggle as much, but there definitely was a time where it was hard, and I did have to lean on,
Yeah.
family and people around me to help get through that.
Yeah. I believe it. It's having that community, whether it's family or gym community, whatever, to support you can definitely help you through those hard moments. Um, so you mentioned the gym you went to provided some nutritional, but was there other resources that you sought after that just were presented to you? Like, where did you get the knowledge and the information to make these educated decisions on what you needed to do to turn things around?
Um, that's a good question. I don't really know.
I mean, lots of times once you get just that aha moment of what proper nutrition does, like you just kind of you roll with it, right?
Yeah.
So I could see where if you got some good information from that gym and then started to implement and you start to feel better, you just keep doing the same thing over and over, and then from there it's like trial and error on trying different things. With so many different diet methods,
Right.
or I should say diet, but like ways of eating. Paleo, carnivore, like finding things that work for you. Obviously, you're on the athletic side of things, so you mentioned your carbs kind of being the demon,
Mhm.
but also they are the fuel that you need to do the things you want to do. So, how do you gauge your carb intake these days?
I think as a whole, not just carbs by themselves, but because I went through what I went through with so much restriction, you can't eat X, Y, and Z. I think that has shaped now to I try and eat a wide balance of all food groups. So for me, for carbs, it's throughout the day, it's right before the gym. I'm hitting a piece of fruit or some sort of natural carb to sustain that fast energy that we need when we're in here working. Um, so that has really worked for me, is just making sure that I'm getting a wide balance of nutrition from meats, vegetables, beans, fruits, the whole 9 yards. So kind of having freedom in the balance
Yeah.
has been really helpful for me.
So speaking of freedom, do you track macros and calories now, or do you kind of just know at this point what your body needs and can tolerate? How do you gauge your intake on a daily basis now?
I don't count every single thing that I intake just because that's kind of triggering for me. It brings back some
For sure.
hard memories. But I sat down with Kara, one of our nutrition coaches, and she kind of gave me a light overview of here's what, based off of your in body, what your activity level is, your training, how do we need to make sure you're getting enough food. And so kind of how I approached that was I sent her pictures of what a normal day of eating looks like for me. She gave me suggestions of where we can tweak things, and I just try to hit a consistent amount of each macro per day. So to answer your question, I'm not strictly counting every single gram of protein that goes into my body, but I have a rough idea of what I need to be hitting. And
You have a minimum goal that you know, like, you're going to hit that. And if there's extra, great. If it's a little under, I'll make it up.
right. And I kind of, because I, eat a lot of the same foods over and over throughout the week, I kind of have a template per se of what I need to get throughout the day to make sure it's enough.
Yeah. I think, especially with somebody with a background like yours, like the tracking can be problematic for a lot of people. So, like, I tell people, if you can, like, I don't know if you've heard of the plate method, but that is a phenomenal way. Like, if you put, so much protein, so much carb, so much fat on that plate, like, and it's real food, you're probably not going to overeat,
Right.
and you're probably getting enough to sustain what you're trying to do. So, fit or nutrition can be super complicated, but at the same time, it can also be super simple and practical if we just think about it in different ways. And that's where, reaching out to somebody like Kara and, a nutrition coach that can learn where you are. If they know your background, your habits, then they can tailor something specific that'll work for you. And, you never want it to feel like a hassle,
Right.
or like a nuisance in your day. It needs to just be something that's natural and sustainable. Because if it's not, then we're going to resort to the bad habits that got us to the point of reaching out for help.
Right.
So staying on top of it and making it something that you can do on a daily basis without really even thinking about is the key to success for a lot of people.
It's just like working out, right? Like we want to consistently get in here and move, but we also want to do things we enjoy. And it's the same with nutrition. Yeah, we have to, or not have to, but if you have certain goals, you want to hit a certain macros, but find foods that you enjoy and that you like and make that a part of your plan.
Yeah, definitely. It's nutrition just it heals our body, fuels our body. It's just so important, and I think it's so easy to get tied up in the day to day. And if we're going to resource to the fastest, easy things we can get our hands on, like, that is not going to be good for you. And it's just plan and prepare, and then just know what's right, what's wrong, and go from there. So come out of that, we're now coaching CrossFit, doing competitive CrossFit. What can you do now that college couldn't do?
Everything.
Everything. Yeah.
There's no way I could do any of this that we do in here back then. Wouldn't have had the energy, strength, none of it. Um, so I'm just really, really thankful to be here and to be a part of something, a gym like this where everyone supports each other and uplifts strength,
Yeah.
especially as a woman. I think that's pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, every time I walk out of here, I'm thankful for what I'm able to do in here.
Yeah. What what do you think kind of flipped the switch to, like, I want to do this now? Like, what made you want to get into, like, the competitive side of CrossFit?
I think when I first started coming to take classes, of course, there's so much learning. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. You're getting so much information and learning at once. And I just fell in love with the idea of it feels like coming to practice, like sports practice. Um, and to me, that is the most fun thing in the world. And so, as a previous athlete, I think that that's what drew me to competing is I do love it, and I love getting to go out and push myself as hard as I can. My favorite thing is getting to go out and do that with the people that I love around me. And so we have a really cool community here of people that like to compete and travel and go to competitions together. And um, that has just been really, really special to get to do a sport now outside of school and in adult life.
Yeah. I'm obviously biased, but yeah, this community's amazing. It's something I'm super proud of. But I think it's, what you're speaking is, like, as an athlete, this, even if you don't do the competition, just being in the group class with the other people. It feels like a team,
Yeah.
and you do so much more. You push a little bit harder on the days where you don't feel like it, or it's you need the encouragement of somebody like, well, if they're doing that, like I can do that, and it kind of scratches that competitive itch, but it doesn't necessarily have to be for a competition. It can just be for yourself, and the end result of that is we're getting better and we're having fun and making friends, and it's just so cool. Um, what's next for you? What's your plans?
In life.
Well, we'll say CrossFit.
Um, what's next? I mean, there's a local competition coming up in July that a bunch of us are going to. That'll be super exciting. So that's kind of on the near future horizon. And then long term, just continuing to train and try and improve where we can and um, set goals and hopefully reach them.
Awesome. Cool. Well, final question. So if somebody's listening today and maybe they were in your shoes when you were in high school, college, and they need some encouragement, what are you going to tell them?
Talk to somebody, bring it up, talk about it. I was too scared to do that when I was walking through it, and I really wish that I had. I think more people struggle with this than I thought at the time. I felt really alone, and I think just talking to somebody, bringing it up, any of us here at Deep Well, we're happy to help and talk, and I'm always a listening ear for something that's, sensitive like this. So yeah, talk about it, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Super vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not an easy conversation, but I think it's gonna be impactful, even if it's just for one person. That's what this is all about. So I appreciate that. I'm so happy that you chose to sit down and talk. And yeah, wish Kate luck. She hits these competitions coming up, and she's putting in the hard work and doing awesome. You've come so far just in the time you've been with us. So excited to see what you do next, and your dedication and joy to be around is just awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one.